City Center Radio. It is episode 281, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is Monday, July 29th, 2024. July is almost over. Yes, it's the 29th. August will be here on Thursday. We are just flying through the summer. I hope you had a great weekend. Mine was awesome, pretty relaxing, didn't do too much, watching the Olympics, which are underway, of course. And also the highlight of my weekend was heading to the Edge Tattoo Studio on James Island, where I've gone a few times now. I was joined by my mom. My folks are in town here. They are, I think they're going to be leaving this week, unfortunately. But it's been a great visit. And yes, my mom and I went back to the tattoo parlor. Longtime listeners or friends of mine may know that my mom and I have now gone, I think, 3 or 4 times together. She got her first tattoo a couple years ago, first tattoo ever. We went together and I got I forget what number at that time it was for me, maybe my third at that time. And it's been fun going with her. And each time we've gotten something done. The last time we went, she got some color added to a tattoo she got. And that was what I did this time. When we went together, before this most recent visit, the one before that, she had gotten color on her previous tattoo she had gotten, and that's what I did. I got some color added to my Yukon Huskies tattoo. I got the Yukon logo. As many people know, I'm a proud graduate of the University of Connecticut and went to the Final Four in Arizona to see the men win back-to-back national titles this year. And so finally made a permanent addition to my body as a Yukon alum and got the logo on there. So I got it filled in with some color. I liked it before, but I think it looks just a little bit better with the color added. My mom got something new for herself. So it was fun to go with her. Love going to the Edge Tattoo Studio. It's a small little building right in front of Locals, which is a restaurant, that's been around for a while, but as pretty new to James Island. It's previously housed a couple other businesses. For a while, it was White Duck Taco. I think Charleston Sports Pub was in there for a bit. I think the Roost was also, which is in West Ashley. I think they had a location there for a bit. But in any event, the staff there is great. They keep growing, but we've gone a few times to see Ricky Miller, who's the owner, and also Lexi, who is one of the tattoo artists. We've had work done by both of them. They're super nice. They treat us really well, and we highly recommend if you're looking to get a tattoo going to the Edge on James Island. They do walk-ins on Saturdays from 1 until I think 8 or 9 at night. So each Saturday you can do a walk-in. So of course that means you may go in there and you may have to wait a little bit or come back. But it is an option. You can also, of course, set appointments with them as well. So definitely recommend them. Go check them out if you're looking to get some work done. As I mentioned, I have been watching the Olympics. They are well underway. And in this era where we have so many streaming networks, there are a lot of options. Including something called the Gold Zone, which I just learned about. If you're an NFL fan, you're familiar with the Red Zone channel, I'm sure, which is for a long time was part of DirecTV, where you could watch any game on Sundays. The Red Zone basically is just a highlight show, but instead of highlights, you're watching live football, so they'll bounce around. So when a team is getting close to scoring, they'll switch to that game. So this is kind of what that is like. They're going to whatever the most interesting, competition is at the time, but anytime there's a chance that someone's going to win a medal, they'll immediately switch to that. So they're bouncing around instead of, say, watching NBC, the main network, where you may be stuck watching a sport you're not super interested in for a while. You can watch the Gold Zone on Peacock if you have that streaming app, and it'll bounce around. So it's been fun doing that. There's a few South Carolinians that are going to be competing. Some that were born here, others maybe played for, say like Asia Wilson, who played for the Gamecocks. She's with the women's basketball team, which tips off their first game this week. On Sunday, the men's basketball team won their first game. all sorts of fun things. Medals are already been given out in things like swimming, I think fencing, and some others. So just it's that time of year where you're watching sports you never watch. You just see them every 4 years, and you're trying to remember some of the rules or learn them for the first time. And it's just funny. By the end of it, everyone kind of is like, "Oh, you can't do that," but you have no idea what you're even talking about. But it's always fun. Olympics are a great time. So in any event, if you hadn't heard about Gold Zone, now you know about it. If you have Peacock, you can go check it out. Other than that, tattoos and Olympics. That was my weekend, doing work, of course, and hanging out with my folks, which has been great. And their two dogs, which has been really fun too. Just having two dogs in the house, and just especially the puppy, being a little bit of a roughhouser and causing a little bit of trouble, fun trouble, nothing bad. It's been fun. Certainly enjoying my time with them. So I hope you had a great weekend. But now let's get into the news. What? Charleston County School District news that does not involve drama with the school board? Yes, that's right. I have some CCSD news, and it has nothing to do with the dysfunctional school board for once. But unfortunately, not great news, not horrible news either. Just something a little bizarre that happened on Friday. Specifically, in the morning on Friday, the school district had a network outage that was appeared to be something related to suspicious activity. Not a whole lot of details have not really come out about this yet, so that's all we really know is that there was an internet outage. That has been reported that there was a suspicious activity notification that popped up on screens throughout the community. So doesn't appear to be a huge deal, but does seem that something possibly nefarious happened, whether it's a student or whatever that knocked the network out. Joy Brown, who is a CCSD parent, said that it was her understanding that there have been some issues with really anything that was connected to the district's Wi-Fi. So obviously that can affect all sorts of devices, anything that was using that Wi-Fi when it was out. So the district has said, like I said, not a whole lot, but they did say that they anticipate a full resolution at all of their school sites by the middle of this coming week. So they're working on whatever this issue is, and should have it resolved at some point coming up in the next few days. Officials with CCSD were not available for an on camera interview with ABC News 4, who reported this story about the outage. So that's another reason why there really just isn't a whole lot of information that is out there. So again, doesn't appear to be anything big as far as any personal information about teachers, workers, students, or anything like that getting out there. But it does seem that someone may have purposefully knock that network out in some capacity, but should be resolved this week. That's all we know now. If there's any significant developments, I'll be sure to let you know. And our last stories, really story, and it's involves the same thing, which is the Righteous Gemstones, the HBO series. So we get a little bit of fun stuff to talk about here to end your Monday episode of Holy City Center Radio. If you're unaware, the HBO series is currently filming throughout the Charleston area. And what they're filming is for the upcoming fourth season of the show. It is written and directed and starring Danny McBride, who somewhat famously in this area became a resident of Sullivan's Island and has filmed some of his projects down here, including Vice Principals, which was a 2-season HBO series, as well as a reboot of the Halloween film series. Reboot might not be the right word. It was, some kind of, sequel, whatever you want to call it. A portion of it was filmed down here. And they've got some good news as they're filming this fourth season. They are nominated for 3 Emmy Awards that are recognizing the show's kind of retro feeling costumes and their stunts that they do on set. If you've watched any of the seasons, you know exactly what I'm talking about with this. But Rough House Pictures, which is the company behind the program, was nominated for those 3 Emmy Awards. Specifically, they were nominated in these categories: Outstanding Stunt Performance, Outstanding Stunt Coordination for Comedy Programming, and Outstanding Contemporary Costumes for a Series. So congratulations to those teams behind the Righteous Gemstones for those nominations. Hopefully they will win all 3, but at least 1, maybe 2. Who knows? It would be nice to bring home at least 1, but And of course, we're pulling for all three for them. So congratulations and best of luck to them. Now, the second portion of the story is involving casting. If you follow Holy City Center, whether it's the website or social media channels, you'll see periodically I talk about casting calls when there are productions going on in town. Usually these are for what is called extras. Extras are people who don't have lines in shows, but they're in the background. They can still be prominently featured depending on editing and things, but they just don't have any speaking roles. This is good for people who are just looking to make some extra cash. It's not a ton of money, but usually it will be a couple $100 in your pocket depending on how long the day is and what specifically the role calls for. And I've been lucky enough to have been on a couple productions over the years doing background or extra work. I didn't end up on television, but it was still fun to be on set and to see, what happens behind the scenes. So it's always a cool experience. If you have a chance to do it, I recommend it. And there's a very specific casting call right now. And this may not be the one for you. It's probably not the one for most folks, but it's certainly interesting, and I wanted to highlight it. And certainly speaks to the kind of show this is. If you haven't seen it, it's not exactly a show for children, and by not exactly, I mean not at all, or for anyone who it has fragile sensibilities, as it were. But they put out a very specific casting call on this past Friday. They are looking specifically for two women and one man that are, quote, comfortable being nude in a locker room scene and around others, end quote. So if you are comfortable being in your birthday suit around other people, this is the casting call for you. Specifically, filming will be done on Monday, August 5th, and it'll pay you a cool $600 for a day's work. So if you don't mind being naked in front of people, and of course, potentially ending up on television being naked, you could earn $600 for a day's work. If you're interested, look for Tona B. Dahlquist Casting on Facebook. That's a great place. If you're not interested in this casting call, if you're looking for more traditional ones, they handle the casting for extras for the Righteous Gemstones and sometimes some other productions in town as well. There's a link in the show notes to the Holy City Center story about this, which that story includes a link to the Facebook page. So you can follow that so you can keep up with any other casting needs in the future, whether it's for the Gemstones or other productions. All submissions have to be emailed to that casting company, and then there's some requirements as far as other details that you have to include, and also some photos you have to include. So again, if you're interested, whether it's for this specific one or ones in the future, just visit the link in the show notes and you can stay up to date on those. But certainly a very unique casting call this time around for you nudists, or at least people who don't mind being naked. That's the one for you. Best of luck to anyone that applies. That'll do it for this edition of Holy City Center Radio. I hope you have an amazing week ahead. If you're looking for plans at any point this week or beyond, go to holycitycenter.com/calendar, and you can see what's coming up in the Holy City. Also, of course, you can just go to the website itself to see the latest news, all sorts of things going on that I post about each and every day, whether it's upcoming restaurants, sometimes the sad news of restaurants closing, sports, politics, whatever you are interested in. All sorts of different things will pop up on the site throughout the week, so be sure to check it out. Big thank you to Lindsay Marie Collins with LMC Sound System for producing this and every episode of Holy City Center Radio. And also a big thank you to Tyler Boone, whose music you hear in each and every show. And of course, a big thank you to each and every one of you for listening. I sincerely appreciate it. If you want to help out and haven't already done some of these things before, please subscribe to the podcast, like it, rate it, review it. Whatever you can do on the platform you're listening on right now, go ahead and do that. It helps out. You can also just share the podcast with someone who you think may be interested in listening to it. And if you want to go that extra mile, go to patreon.com/Holy City Center, where you can sign up for one of the support tiers. That also helps out not just the podcast, but the website as well. Helps defer costs that go into running each of these things. Because unfortunately, it's not free to have a website. It's not free to have a podcast. Well, at least it's not free to have a podcast hosted. And it's also not free if you're not producing it yourself, which I am far too lazy and busy and untalented to do. So all those things help out. Otherwise, like I said, I hope you have a great week, but I will be back with you on Wednesday to check in. But until then, good night and good luck.